Thanks so much for making time out of your evening to come join us. And then Ms. Quintana, welcome. Thank you for coming. Oh, excuse me, Mr. Quintana. This evening, we're really delighted to have some time with you to share with you information about Tigard-Tualatin's two-way immersion program in the middle school. Si usted desea interpretación en español, se la ofrecemos. Solamente tiene que buscar el globo, este icono de globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla. I'll give everybody just a few more moments to get settled in and to find your interpretation option if you need it. And thanks so much and welcome. All right, so this evening we're delighted that you're here with us to share information about our middle school two-way immersion program. And again, before we proceed into the presentation, si usted desea interpretación, la famosa Gigi Escobar está ahí para asistirles, para ayudarles con interpretación. Seleccione por favor el icono del globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Okay, Mr. Sorg, would you take us on to the next slide, please? Thanks so much. So who are we? I am the lucky person that gets to work with the amazing people on this screen. And so my name is Tim Blackburn. I'm the director of our two-way immersion program in the Tigard-Tualatin School District. So all of the services for our language learner students, like two-way immersion, or we call it TWE in our school district, our English language development program, as well as a few other things. And I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Pam Harrell. Pam is our teacher on special assignment for our two-way immersion program. I bet you know her, right? Pam, would you mind saying hi to everybody?
Buenas noches. Good evening to everyone. Thank you for coming to get more information about our program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks so much, Pam, and thank you to Pam for really putting this evening together. Thanks so much for that. Mr. Van Fleet, are you there, sir? Yeah, he's here.
I am here and got caught up in a kid carpool last moment. So I am pleased to be with you as well, and I'll be settled in just a moment. But thank you all for coming tonight.
Thanks, Mr. Van Fleet. Really appreciate it. And Mr. Van Fleet, friends, so that you know, is the principal of Fowler Middle School. And not with us this evening, but a wonderful colleague is Tim Gross. He is the principal at Hazelbrook Middle School. He sends his regrets for not being able to make it this evening. And finally, there's three more people I'd like to recognize. I bet you know her, I bet you love her, but Gigi Escobar is helping us with interpretation this evening. And if I might say, she's something we all aspire to as multilingual people. And such a wonderful connector. So thank you, Gigi, for sharing your talents with us this evening. And I also wanted to thank to Thor Kuhn. Thank you, Thor, for supporting us with IT, with all of our technology this evening, and the same to the wonderful Lisa Burton, who you might know as well. But Thor, if you wouldn't mind taking us on to the next slide. That's who we are, right? And we'd like to get to know you a little bit as well in just a moment, right? And so before we do, we just wanted to share with you our agenda for this evening. We'd like to do a breve presentación, just a short presentation of what two-way immersion is, TWE, our bilingual program, right? We'd like to support you in knowing how to apply. And then most importantly, time and space for you to ask questions and for us to respond to your questions directly. How does that sound, everybody? Good? All right, I hope so. Now, since there are not many of us, I was thinking on the next slide, Thor, if you wouldn't mind, we can talk just a little bit about our conversation this evening. And so in doing so, I just wanted to share that just like you're doing right now, you know, as you're listening to presentation or listening to others share, I would just ask that you keep your microphone on mute. I'm trying to remember the English word, sorry. And then if you have questions, you have two ways to share them. Firstly, if you could find the chat feature in Zoom, it should be at the bottom of your screen. Do you see the chat? And so I'm just going to send a chat to you, and I'm going to say hello, right? And I was hoping maybe you could send me a chat too. Tell me how you're doing coming in this evening. How are you feeling? All right, give you some time. Thank you, Gigi. Thank you, Pam. If you have questions, you're welcome to share your questions here in the chat. Let's see. All right, and then, thank you, Ms. Martinez, wonderful. And so you're welcome to share your questions with the chat, or if you prefer, you're welcome to turn on your microphone to share a question. And so I'm wondering, Ms. Martinez, do you feel comfortable turning on your microphone and saying hello?
Sorry. Hi, everybody.
Hi. Hi, good evening. Thanks so much for coming.
Yeah, well, I was excited to ask you how was this time work for the tree, because I have a tree in my song, but so it was I remember to take a little test, but this time I don't know how to work.
Yeah, todo el proceso, right? Speaking of all of the process for it, and we'll clarify all those questions for you. Thanks so much for coming this evening.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And so throughout our evening, we invite you to turn on your microphone to ask questions, and then when you're done with your question, to hit mute. And then the same would go for the chat. Okay. So thanks so much. Thor, would you mind taking us on to the next question, sir? Excuse me, the next slide, I should say. So in the next, let's say 10 minutes, I'm going to try to just share this information in 10 minutes. Pam, do you think we can do it 10 minutes? I bet we can do it in 10 minutes. I think so. All right. So what is this TWE? What is this two-way immersion? Well, let's talk a little bit about it. So if you wouldn't mind, Thor, on to the next one. It's important to stress that our two-way immersion program has three principal goals, right? And it's, you know, it's firstly that our goal is we aspire to high levels of bilingualism and biliteracy, which means that our students have advanced proficiency in Spanish and in English in listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And why that's important is the next pillar, our academic achievement. That our students, they do double the work, right? That is, they're learning academic language in Spanish and English, just as they are learning academic content. And yeah, it's academic content either at or you know, in some cases above their grade level. What we aspire to is offering our students coursework that challenge them, right? Not just in terms of language, but also in terms of the material. And I think that we could all agree So one of the most significant outcomes of our two-way immersion program is building bridges. Bridges between our students and bridges between cultures. And that really starts with developing the socio-cultural competence. That is a clear sense of who I am as a multilingual person, who we are as a multilingual community. And that's what our program aspires to, are these three goals. So why two-way immersion? We want really smart, multilingual kids that can connect with one another and appreciate our differences, right? Just the same way that we can appreciate our own culture, but also the values of others. That's why we're doing this. And so, Thor, if you could take us on to the next one. We're going to talk a little bit about, well, what is it, right? So if I know why we're doing it, what we aspire to with those three goals, then what is it? Like, so how do we go about it? So Thor, if you could take us on to the next slide. So you'll see here before you a graph, right? And in the yellow box on the graph, you'll see a variety of different models that schools use to serve their language learner students. So you'll see at the bottom, you'll see an ESL pullout, right? And an ESL through academic content and transitional bilingual education programs. That is, bilingual education programs that start offering Spanish and English early in a student's career, but then transition to fully English. And what we wanted to illustrate to you here as being new to immersion are the effects of growing students in an immersion program. That when we challenge our students with high levels of academic language in Spanish and English and push them to learn their content, the outcomes are higher. And so what you see here at the top, at that top red line for two-way bilingual education, that nationwide immersion programs like Tigard-Tualatin's two-way immersion program have a really positive impact on student learning. And so we wanted to illustrate this to you as sort of like a really crucial measure of what the research tells us. And in Tigard-Tualatin schools, I really want to highlight the research is that we use this evidence as a foundation for our planning. Before I move on, do you have any questions about what you see here on the graph or any doubts? I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. Ninguna? Okay. Seguras? Okay. Muy bien. All right. Let's move on, Thor. So what are we hoping for as far as outcomes? Well, it says it all right here. High levels of bilingualism, academic achievement, a clear sense of self-esteem, right? Greater opportunities for employment. I mean, who wouldn't want to hire a multilingual person for their role, right? As well as just, it's really crucial just for community building, right? Just like I said before, building bridges. That's what we're after. And so as our students emerge from high school, it is our hope that they emerge from high school with these outcomes that you see here on the slide. Next slide, please, Thor. And so there are benefits, though, for high levels of bilingualism. And I wanted to be clear that we drew these benefits of bilingualism from the research on why is it great to be bilingual, right? Firstly, focus. that it's actually research has shown that bilingual people have higher degrees of being able to focus, especially in multitasking. I thought that was really interesting. They call it brain plasticity. That's just kind of cool. Good luck interpreting that, Gigi, sorry. The second one is for decision making and judgment. But if you wouldn't mind me pointing out, the last two are really crucial and something that I connect to as a multilingual person. Is just the critical thinking and creative thinking. Research has shown the real benefits for bilingual people really excelling in these areas. And that's why we want to extend further opportunities to children in our school district at every opportunity. And so given that your families of 5th grade students getting ready for going on to middle school, we wanted to reach out to you to offer this opportunity to join our two-way immersion program. So our next slide, please. So before we just we launch into this short video, I just wanted to offer any space for Ms. Martinez, for Mario, for Adrián Quintana. Do you have any questions? Tal vez tienen preguntas.
Tim, you have one question in the chat.
Oh, sorry, I missed it. Lisa, would you mind reading it to me?
Yeah, it says, will my son be able to attend if he doesn't know any Spanish?
It's a wonderful question, Mayra, and the short answer, Mayra, is unfortunately no. That immersion program wouldn't be the best fit for a student that has limited Spanish, and the reason why is that your student would, your son would be joining a program that children have been learning en español since kindergarten. And so we do have offerings though, world language offerings for your son to learn Spanish. That is certainly true. And those opportunities begin at the middle school level. Los alumnos tendrán un registro de que hablan 2 idiomas. Ms. Martínez, ¿me puede explicar más en cuanto a en cuanto al registro?
Do you see that? Se refiere a un diploma.
Yeah, that's.
Tim, you are muted.
And you missed all of that amazing response that I had?
Okay.
I don't know how that happened. I'm so sorry, everyone. So referring to a diploma, yes, the simple answer to your question, Ms. Martinez, is your student would have a diploma, and on that diploma would be the Oregon State Seal of Biliteracy. It's an award that your student would qualify for when they take an exam. And you have to meet the requirements of the Oregon State Seal of Biliteracy. But what it does is it recognizes the student for having high proficiency in ambos idiomas, in both languages.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful question. We'll speak to that a little bit more later on. Another question here in the chat. My daughter speaks and understands it, but has limited writing and reading skills, and would she be able to attend? A wonderful question. And we're actually Pam is actually going to speak to this a little bit more later on. So is it okay if I hold on to that question later so as to not steal Pam's thunder? How's that sound? Okay, good. All right, very good. And then, ¿ese programa lo tienen todas las escuelas o qué pasa si cambia de escuela? That's a great question. And no, we do not have this program in each of our schools. And so what's important to note is that we offer middle school two-way immersion at Fowler Middle School and Hazelbrook Middle School. Our elementary programs are Metzger and Bridgeport. And so what happens if they were to change schools? We really have to talk about that, right? Could probably work this out on a case-by-case basis, but we are limited by details like transportation, right? And so while we offer it at Hazelbrook and Fowler, we can certainly talk about on a case-by-case basis later on how to keep your child enrolled at one of those two schools, but transportation kind of remains an issue. And so we'll talk more about these questions, especially the question about proficiency, about reading and writing. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on. And so we just wanted to share with you just like a short 2 minutes, just hearing about the impact of two-way immersion on the lives of the students here. So we wanted to share just a little bit of student voice for your viewing pleasure.
I love about because you can speak twice as much as people as you can speak as just one language.
Porque yo puedo hablar en español y también inglés y puedo leer libros que son de bilingüe y también de español. If I'm work as a doctor or a teacher, I can help like students or like patients that speak in Spanish. Me gusta que puedo hablar dos idiomas y como mi mamá y papá solo una.
Me encanta ser bilingüe porque si estoy en una situación, si me roba alguien, puedo llamar a mis papás.
My ancestors and my family members, they spoke Spanish and they were mostly bilingual, and I just like learning the same language they learned. A mí me encanta ser bilingüe porque puedo hablar dos lenguajes y puedo entender otras cosas, muchas cosas en dos lenguajes. Yo me gusta ser bilingüe porque puedo tener dos lenguajes para aprender y puedo ser más inteligente de mi mamá y papá combinado.
Porque puedo trasladar cosas a otras personas. I can like translate stuff to other people.
Me encanta ser bilingüe porque puedo comunicar con más personas y puedo hablar con los nativos de Costa Rica o Puerto Rico.
Si no fuera bilingüe, no sabría el lenguaje de inglés.
Thanks so much, Thor. We appreciate it. Oh, what do you think, everybody? That was good, huh? Especially the part about being smarter than his mom and dad combined. Oh, hilarious. So good. And so, Ms. Martinez, I wanted to call this out. This is kind of relates to your question from before. How do we know that we have attained our goals? This is what we're shooting for. It's the Oregon State Seal of Biliteracy. And it measures advanced levels of biliteracy in Spanish and English, right? And so our students have to meet all of their graduation criteria in English, right? As well as all of their requirements for graduation. And then on top of that, they're super special multilingual Spanish speaking students with high proficiency. That's what this means. And so they'll receive this, the seal as a record on their diploma. And, you know, the effects of that can be many, right? You know, when thinking about college, there are really, you know, tangible reasons to want this, like, you know, for credit equivalencies in world language credits in college, as well as for, you know, as well as for jobs, you know, and looking for jobs outside of school. And so this is what we aspire to, everyone. Thanks so much. All right, let's move on, Thor. All right, so I have to clear up my screen here. So we're just going to talk just a little bit about, you know, what this actually looks like in our school district. And Pam, if I have my thinking correct, this is where I turn it over to you, right, friend?
Yes, I'd love to talk about this.
All right, muy bien. Thanks so much.
Okay, so I am going to share with you details about how we take this idea of a two-way immersion program and what it really looks like when we put it into practice in our school district. So, who are the two-way immersion students in Tigard-Tualatin School District? Well, roughly half of them are native Spanish speakers, and about half of them are native speakers of English that do not have Spanish in their home. We have over 800 students in the program right now. And on the next slide, you can see that the schools where we have programs, since that was asked earlier, we have a program at Metzger Elementary. Those students go to Fowler, and then the oldest group is going to start at Tigard High School next year. The other program is at Bridgeport Elementary. Those students go to Hazelbrook Middle School. And the oldest group is in 7th grade. So next year, they'll go to 8th grade at Hazelbrook and then start at Tualatin High School the year after. Now, your students I don't believe your students go to Metzger or Bridgeport. They went to another elementary school and are planning to go to Fowler or to Hazelbrook. And so that's why we are inviting you to join this program now, because we know that the longer a student is in it, the better, stronger benefits that they will have for developing their bilingualism. So we're inviting you to join. And one thing I did not mention, you might be wondering, why do you have half English speakers and half Spanish speakers? Well, there's a couple benefits. The big one is that everybody has the chance to be bilingual, but that they also all have language models. So if I'm learning Spanish, I have a lot of Spanish language speakers around me, and I can listen to them and learn more, or they can help me if I'm stuck. And the same is true if I'm a native Spanish speaker and I'm learning English. I have a lot of English speakers around me who can help me. So your students were picked by their 5th grade teachers. They were asked if they would like to learn more because we knew that they may be fluent in Spanish. And so that's why you got this information and the flyer, because students, like we mentioned earlier, students that do not speak or understand Spanish, this would not be the best program. We have other programs that would work well for them. We have heritage Spanish programs or Spanish as a world language class. So we have options in the future, but for 6th grade, if they already speak Spanish, this is a great choice. Could you go to the next slide, please, Tor? So in our program, in Tigard-Tualatin, how much, I want to talk about the allocation of Spanish. How much time is the instruction in Spanish? Well, we have what's called a 90-10 program. That means that in kindergarten, the students all had 90% of their instruction in Spanish and 10% was in English. In first grade, it was 80% in Spanish and 20%. We keep slowly increasing the amount of English until fifth grade, when we're 50% in English, 50% in Spanish. Excuse me, fourth grade. In fourth and fifth grade, we are half and half the instruction in Spanish and English. In sixth through eighth grade, our students take 3 classes in Spanish each year. So that's about half. And in 9th through 12th grade, as I mentioned, we're just starting our program at Tigard High School next year. And our plan is that students will be taking 2 or 3 classes in Spanish per year in high school. So you can see that they're getting a lot of exposure to Spanish as they go through the program. Next slide, please. Specifically in 6th grade, I'm hoping that we have some students watching this presentation right now, and I bet that's your big question. What would my 6th grade year look like? You would take a Spanish language arts class along with an English language arts class. You would take a social studies course in Spanish and a math course in Spanish. And Mr. Blackburn, you have your hand up. Do you want to add something here?
Yeah, no, I think you're just wonderful, Pam. And it just occurred to me, Pam, that in the chat we had just a question about my daughter speaks and understands Spanish but has limited writing and reading skills. Would she be able to attend? And I was thinking like this would probably be a good moment to speak to kind of the language demand in these courses, right?
Okay. Yes. So I'm going to talk about how we assess language in a moment, but we do ask students that want to join the program to take a Spanish proficiency test, and it tests reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And we will share those scores with you, and we compare those scores to students who are already in the program, other 5th graders. And we let you know, okay, your student, when they're listening, they can listen at the same level or better as the other students in the program that have been in the program since kindergarten. You know, in each area, what their level is. We are really concerned that they be very close to the level of the other students in speaking and listening. Because if they can't understand what the teacher's saying to them, or they can't ask for help, they really struggle and they get discouraged in the program. And we don't want that. We want them to be really successful. For reading and writing, we do not weigh that as heavily, because we know that many students have never learned to read in Spanish or to write in Spanish. We also know that it is much easier to learn to read or write in Spanish when you already know how to in English. That the transfer of skills, that the way the sounds are, helps students learn to read very quickly, and they develop their writing quickly. So we have suggestions. If your student does not know how to read and write, we have suggestions for things that your family can do over the summer to help develop reading and writing skills, so your student will be more comfortable when they begin the class. But we still admit students with lower reading and writing skills. Do you have more questions about that?
Yeah, I have a question about when they go to take the test for the evaluation. So,
I'll give you a timeline. We're going to, after the application deadline is May 7th. And then I will contact students the next week to start scheduling their test.
okay. Yeah, because my daughter, they're attending Byron Elementary. So
I'm sorry,
try to
your daughter what?
attend in Byron Elementary.
Uh-huh.
So saying like my son 2 years ago, and this time I tried to find a flight for put my daughter in this program.
Mm-hmm.
She speaks Spanish and read Spanish, but she don't write Spanish. So
Mm-hmm. Y esto es muy común.
yeah,
Porque no la han
she don't,
enseñado.
she don't practice.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's go back to 6th grade. But if you have more questions, please stop me.
Yeah, when do you or how do you send the application for this? Because I'm taking this flight for other person.
I will share a link to the application at the end of the meeting. So you can have it tonight. Okay?
Okay. Thanks.
Yes. I just want to make sure that we are clear that when students take social studies, estudios sociales en español, they're just taking one social studies class. They do not have to take social studies in Spanish and in English. They just take one social studies class. It is going to use the same standards, have the same goals as the English social studies class, but it's going to be taught in Spanish. And the teachers will take opportunities to help students make links between the two languages, to give them the vocabulary so that they are able to discuss social studies in Spanish or in English. But 97% of the class is going to be in Spanish. The same is true for math. Okay. And then also the 2 language arts classes, Spanish language arts and English language arts, those teachers coordinate together so that they're not repeating the same assignments in both languages. They'll have different kinds of writing in one than in the other so that they are not repeating things. They get new information in the classes. We go to the next slide, Thor. In 7th and 8th grade, they'll also get 3 classes in Spanish. They will take Lectoescritura, Spanish language arts, both years. This does take the place of an elective at this time. So I think at both middle schools, many students have 1 or 2 electives. We know that a lot of kids sign up to take a Spanish class. Well, your students will be in a Spanish class, but it's going to be one that's at a higher level. They don't need to learn how to say rojo and verde. They need to know higher things. Their social studies class in grade 7, social studies is in Spanish again. And this year, science is in Spanish. In 8th grade, science is in Spanish, and we're going to do a PE class in Spanish, so they get to have a little more fun with their language. And next slide. All right, questions about applications. I think that you got a flyer, so you knew how to come tonight. You got the information with the link. On that flyer is also the link for the application. So you have it there, or you, thank you, Thor. He just put it in the chat, That is the link for a Google form. It's a questionnaire for the application. And that's what you fill out to sign your student up. We need you to complete that application and turn it in by May 7th. So one more week, a little more than 1 week. And then when we have all the students signed up, I will be contacting your student. So you should watch for an email on their student email. And I will copy you too, and talk about when they can take their examen, their proficiency test, which is called the STAMP test. And those tests will be scheduled sometime between the 10th of May and the 21st of May. And it takes 2 to 3 hours. It's not hard, it's just a little bit long. So we usually divide it so that they maybe take it on 2 different days. So they might do speaking and listening one day and reading and writing another, for example. And I will schedule that at a time that works for your students, that fits in their schedule. And then I will send you a letter that says what your student's score was. You can look at the scores, see how they compare to other 5th graders. And we'll let you know, yes, these scores were very high and welcome to TWE. Or we might let you know, these scores were high, these scores were a little bit low. So think about this carefully. And if your family can work together, then your student can still join. So we just want to make sure you have all the information that you need to make a good decision for your family and your students. And then I hope that you all say, yes, we want to be in the program, and you will respond to let us know that, yes, you want to join. Thor, can you go to the next slide, please? No existe gran talento sin gran voluntad. You know, your students, there are things that are harder about being in two-way immersion, but the benefits of having such high levels of bilingualism, biliteracy, has so many rewards that I believe you will find, and they will find, that it's worth the effort. One more slide, Thor. We can open it up for questions now, and you can type them, or you can just ask them with unmuting your microphone. I wanted to address or Tim, did you already answer the transportation question? Or do you want me to?
I think it'd be great. Please, that'd be great, Pam. Please
Okay.
Go ahead.
So if you live inside the attendance area for Fowler, if your student would normally go to Fowler, or if your student would normally go to Hazelbrook, then we can use the regular school bus and the regular transportation. Where it gets complicated is if your student is scheduled to go to Tualatin Middle School, because we don't have a program there. And as Mr. Blackburn mentioned, transportation is the tricky part. What that means is we're going to ask if you want your student to be in the program, you can apply, but we're going to ask if you can drive your child to school or to a bus stop for the school that they're going to. And that can be really hard for some families. And we wish that we had a better solution, but right now we don't. I feel free to contact Mr. Blackburn or me, and we can talk about it and see if we can find a creative solution if that is a problem. If you can transport your child yourself to the school, you can drive them to school, then it's not a problem. Then they can still apply to be in the program. Are there other questions that have come up?
Hi. I spoke to you about this. How are you?
Well, thank you.
Good. So I've been waiting for I'm still waiting on the transfer. I know TTSD has not loaded that transfer application online yet.
Oh, okay.
If that has not been done, how would we go about that? I've spoke to someone from TTSD. They said they were trying to do it as soon as possible. They said that it shouldn't take 2 weeks.
Okay.
But I still haven't seen it loaded.
Okay, so I will follow up on that and find out what we can learn, and I will make a note on your application that to let you know what I learn about that. Does anyone else need a transfer application? Does anyone else have a student anyone else live in the Tualatin boundaries and they would need to transfer their student to Fowler or Hazelbrook?
Pam, if you wouldn't mind, we dropped a link in the chat. If you have questions about where you are zoned, I shared a map of our school boundaries. And there's a really neat feature called Find Your School. And using your address, you can find the school that you are zoned for. And so I've shared those 2 links there in the chat.
I see questions about the schedule.
The schedule.
Andy, do you know what the at least the starting bell and ending bell are for middle school?
Yes. So in previous years, we've had a 7-period day schedule that started at 9 o'clock. And so students didn't get out until after 3. This year was a very unique year. And in full transparency, we have a small committee that's right now vetting and taking a look at potential different schedules. So we don't have a final answer on that yet, but I do believe that if it will be different than that 9 o'clock start time, we'll be able to communicate to families and actually ask for some family feedback, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, if there's the development on that.
And Andy, if there were a change, would all 3 middle schools have the same schedule?
Yes, all 3 schools would have the same schedule and same pattern for bus transportation to and from school.
And friends, any more questions out there? I've seen questions about our exam, which I hope we've answered, about the transportation, which I hope we've answered, and I'm happy to answer more questions about that if you have them, as well as our schedule. Are there any other doubts or questions on your mind?
Is there anything that excites you about this program? Anything that you are excited about? Sí, Belinda.
Okay. I have a question about the test. If they are low the evaluation and the test, what about I remember when my son take the test, they give me a 5 for 2 4s and 2 5s. And so he's in the program right now. What about my daughter? If she is low, or she came in the program, she can stay in the program or don't?
Probablemente que sí. Lo que depende es en qué, si tienen si son bajos en eso de escuchar y hablar, es más difícil para ellos entrar al programa. Si están con nivel 4 y 5 en escuchar y hablar, entonces esto está bien. Pero si están bajos en esto, los estudiantes que han entrado ha sido más difícil para ellos. Entonces, lo que pasa es que le llamo a usted y lo discutimos.
Okay.
Y a ver qué pensamos.
Yeah, I really wanted to emphasize that last point, Pam, is that we will talk to you, we will reach out to you to have a conversation about what the best fit is for your child. But you know, so it's not like a decision like made, you know, by us, but rather, you know, with you as partners. Of course, please share your question.
I have a question.
Yeah, adelante. Let's hear your question.
Tengo dos hijos que son gemelos y irían a la misma escuela. A la hora que hagan el examen, ¿podrían ellos quedar en diferente grado? Y la otra pregunta es, ¿el horario que van a tener ellos si califican para el programa sería diferente al que va a tener la escuela regularmente?
Es excelente la pregunta. La segunda parte es que no, el horario va a ser igual que el horario escolar, ¿verdad? O sea que el programa no tiene un horario distinto que lo de la escuela. Y en cuanto a los gemelos, excelente, me alegra que podremos invitar a 2 estudiantes de su familia al programa. Lo más importante, creo, bueno, son 2 partes. Uno es brindarles la oportunidad de demostrar sus capacidades en español en la evaluación, ¿verdad? Y según esta información, usted como papá de familia puede hacer la decisión y tomar la decisión con la información que necesite. Y de ahí, en cuanto a grado, como son gemelos, van a estar en el mismo grado, ¿verdad? Pero ya que conozco a muchas familias con gemelos que algunos que quieren que sus hijos estén en la misma clase o prefieren que estén separados. Usted podrá conversar con, por ejemplo, con Mr. Van Fleet, el director de la escuela, para determinar cómo lo desea hacer. Pero sí podemos brindar inmersión en diferentes clases, sí.
Ok, muchas gracias.
Ya, a la orden. Pero no estarán en diferentes grados. Es sí, mismo grado, diferente clase. Gracias, DJ, por clarificar, porque así es.
Ok, gracias.
Good. Yeah, a la orden. Okay, other questions, más preguntas hay. A ver. Okay.
Estamos bien. Gracias.
Ya, okay, listo. Excelente. Gracias. Si tienen más preguntas, if you have more questions that you would like to share and you close your computer, you shut off your phone, you're like, I forgot to ask a question. Please know these 2 email addresses at the bottom, P. Blackburn and P. Harrell. We're here to support you. We're here to serve you. Send us an email and we'll be happy to clarify any doubts that you have about bringing your students into immersion. But it's my sincere hope that this evening makes you feel welcome into the process, right? And gives you the information you need about taking this very important decision. And I for one, am very excited that you're here, and Pam is really excited too. And so if you have any questions after this evening, know that you can count on us to clarify them. All right. Mr. Van Fleet, any parting words, sir?
Just thank you very much to our presenters and to our partners, and for all the families who are interested in potentially being part of the TWE program. Those that might make it to Fowler, look forward to meeting you in the future. And I know that Hazelbrook's Kim Gross would say the exact same thing.
He would indeed. He would indeed. Thank you, Mr. Van Fleet. Pam, friend, any parting words?
Just notice that I put the link to the application at the bottom of the chat. So one more time, and that's how you can sign up for more information.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining us this evening. We really appreciate that you're here, and we look forward to meeting you in person someday, right? Won't that be nice? All right. Take care. Thanks for coming.
Adios.
Buenas noches.